Welcome back, everyone, to another incredible episode of Chat with Dan. Now, before we start, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to checking this out. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, follow, it helps a lot, and again, thank you. Have an incredible day or evening, depending where you are, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. Welcome back, everyone, to another incredible episode of Chat with Dan. For today, we have an incredible badass actor here in the building. Simon, how are you today, man?
I'm good, Dan. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I mean, what better way to have a cool Sunday that speak with someone as badass as you know what I mean?
Well, it's good. Hey, listen, I'm happy I could make your Sunday.
There
I
you
was
go.
worried I'd worried that you'd be watching football.
There you go. Well, yeah. I mean, the World Cup's done. Perfect ending. Now this. I mean, what else can I ask? You know what I mean?
I know. Nobody wanted France to win.
Yeah, yeah, no. But anyway, so welcome here to the show, and tell me, for those who don't know, who is the incredible badass Simon? Please tell us, who are you basically?
I'm Simon Phillips. I'm an actor and and a producer. I do a few things, but acting is, I guess, the main thing for sure. I do mostly that. Mainly in sort of horror movies and things like that. But action movies or horror movies. Yeah, just a big array of films. As an actor, you have to be in a lot of stuff
Yeah,
in order to make it your full time job. Sort of. So
yeah.
obviously, if you're doing it part time, it doesn't matter. But if you want to do it full time, you have to put lots of fingers in lots of pies. So I'm talking with Dan because our latest release, De-Influencer, is out now.
There you go. Which we will be talking about that in a
Mhm.
couple of minutes. But let's go back in time here a little bit and tell me, where does this passion for acting started?
Oh, well, my mother was an actress, and my stepfather was in a band, so I had very musical acting sort of family sort of influences. But my mum's a writer and a director now, so I suppose I get it from there. And I've sort of always done it from a very young age. I've never really wanted to do anything else, so it's always been this for me. And anybody that knows me would be like, "Yeah, that makes sense."
I love it. And tell me, like, what were some of the challenges that you had, when you were recently making your first acting steps? Like, what were those challenges?
The challenges for me are the challenges for everybody. To be an actor is to be a professional actor you have to get paid to be actor. Somebody has to that it has to be your job. It has to be the thing that pays the rent on the place that you live, buys your food, buys your clothes, and so on and so forth. It's to make a life out of it, and every actor wants to make a life out of acting, but you're essentially a freelancer. Like you work wherever you can, and obviously you need to be busy enough
Yeah.
to support a life, or you need to be involved in big enough projects to support a life, or what's that. And the challenge with everybody is the same: is getting those opportunities, getting those projects that get you the next project. Actually, actors are always sort of looking to the next thing, because they're always
Mm.
every day is very different for us. So that's part of the game. You have to be comfortable with that. So lots of
Yeah.
people want a job with a salary and benefits and stuff, like and a company car and an office and stability, and being an actor, you don't have any of that, and you have to be happy with that. Some people can't do that because they wouldn't be happy with that sort of lifestyle, but it's you have to sort of treat it like you love it,
Yeah.
and then you will get a lot out of it, hopefully.
Absolutely. And like, one of the cool things, I mean, one of the things that I find very impressing about about actors is, as you were mentioning, the fact that, for example, you can book a role, and then 3-4 months you don't have anything. I mean, you will keep audition, but you don't have anything. So that like roller coaster. I mean, I find that pretty, like, pretty admiring, the fact that you will be able to go through that, knowing, as you mentioned, that for some people would prefer like a regular 9 to 5, have like some kind of stability, and just take it easy in that way. So
Yeah, it's not for everyone, definitely.
yeah,
It's one of those things that is a little tough. The beauty of it is acting is pretty well paid when you do get the work, so that you just have to budget your life, because you never know when your next job will be. Sort of,
totally.
so it's a little tough, but ultimately it's very worthwhile. So, I mean, I'm very lucky that I'm able to call it my main and only job. So, yeah, for me,
That
it's okay.
that's fantastic. And tell me, like, how you manage to prepare a character. Now, I get it, of course, that depends on the role, but what is your initial approach on starting this process of creating a character?
So I mean, each project is very difficult, very different and difficult, obviously. But so depending on what the project is, depends on what you need to do. So I often play bad guys in movies and stuff like that. So uh, the thing with playing bad guys is it's nobody is that two-dimensional, sort of. So you have to kind of make up sometimes the story is in the script, sometimes it's not, but it's usually you can make up a bit of a story, like a backstory for yourself, going, okay, who is this guy and what does he want, or where did he come from, or why is he doing the things he's doing. Now hopefully a script answers that question, but if they don't, you have to be able to fill in the gaps so that you know the answer, so that you create something like a bit more three-dimensional, sort of, suddenly going, okay, so that you go, well, in any given scenario I know what this guy would do.
Mm.
He's not just sort of a two-dimensional like that, sort of. So with each project it's very different. I did a movie where I was playing like a killer Santa Claus, which is sort of festive themed about this time, and it was a very scary thing. Do I have this? Like a very scary sort of Santa Claus. I mean, see this on this little image, these things, and it was involved a lot of prosthetic work on the face and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and that requires like a completely different monster. Sort of. It's like, well, he's horrifically scarred physically, but sort of then you have to work out the rest of it. Otherwise he is just a monster. Sort of. But you actually have
Mm.
to make part of the challenge for that sort of thing is making him human. Sort of as
Mm.
well.
Mm.
And then it's much more scary when the thing is real. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I bet that playing the villain is fun, right? I mean, I have interviews with actors who have played either villains on films or even video games, and they love it.
It's definitely more liberating, I believe, to play a villain because it's something sort of different. People don't, there are villains, I guess, in real life, but they're not so. In movies, the villains are always just unapologetically villains.
Mm.
Sort of know that they're villains. They're not pretending to be good guys, or most of the time, they're not pretending to be good guys. They are who they are, and it's sort of liberating because most of the time, I think when people play heroes, they're pretending to be heroes. Like nobody's that good, sort
Yeah.
of. Sort of. So to play a hero is quite difficult because you're like, well, nobody is whiter than white. Nobody is,
Hmm.
a hero all the time. They usually have, sort of some skeleton in the closet, some sort of flaw that would make them not the hero. Whereas a villain, has all his flaws sort of out front and center. So it's much more. It feels well. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I found also pretty interesting because in some of the interviews that I had, someone like sometimes will tell me that they will be, all these guys all ready to go, with the blood, or if they're the monster, all with the prosthetics and everything. And that is quite interesting. Whenever you will see the monster or the villain, full guys, you will see, drinking coffee, or sending a
Yeah,
message here,
exactly. Sending text messages to them, hey, miss you, baby.
Yeah,
Sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, that is kind of surreal. Whenever you're like,
Yeah,
like for the people of the crew just walking around and see like this full monster ready to go, but just chilling a little bit.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And tell me, like, has it ever happened to you that you got this character that took you the most to prepare? That there was something about it that took you, that there was, yeah, like for example, there was something stuck there that took you more than usual for you to set it.
Sometimes, like for instance, in one of my other productions, I did an American accents. I'll do that all the time, but so the voice needs more work or something like that. I
Totally.
recently did something with I know Arnold Schwarzenegger has a new TV show coming out next year called Fubar, and I was in that, and I had to do sort of a Dutch accent and stuff like that. So sometimes when it's voice work,
Mm.
it's you have to concentrate on how it is. I also want to be able to do the accents so that I can improvise in the accent as well. I like to do a bit of ad libbing and improvising to keep it fresh. But if you're not speaking in your normal accent, you have to really get into that sort of mindset. Not just how the accent sounds, but how people phrase things as well. Sort of like
Mm.
there's things I would say in English that I couldn't say in American. Sort of
Absolutely.
it doesn't really work.
Absolutely. And tell me, from all the roles you had at the moment, which ones have been the funnest? The ones that you're like, oh, I love this one, or this one was so much fun.
I think playing Santa Claus, which you can see up here, see on this
Yeah.
one,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
the evil Santa Claus has been a lot of fun because it's something completely insane. and we've done it. We've made two of those films, Once Upon a Time at Christmas and The Nights Before Christmas, and we're actually going to do a third part of it. So we're gearing up to do the trilogy, the horror
Yeah,
trilogy. So that's always been a real lot of fun. Um, that for me has been the big has been the big thing basically, as a project that stood out recently. So yeah, I did that, but we did I have a TV show as well called Age of the Living Dead,
okay.
which is sort of like Walking Dead but with vampires, for Amazon Prime. So that's been a lot of fun, and we're about to go on to a season 3 of that. So those two big things are standout projects for me. They've been a lot of fun to film. They've been a lot of fun to work on, and a lot of fun to with all the people involved in it. It's a big team.
That's so cool. That, and like tell me like how you manage, like to break character. For example, you would shoot this intense scene. How you manage to when they say cut to be like, okay, I mean, do you have like a process to it, or you just like,
Not
okay,
really, but
move
I
on.
understand people that do have processes to it. As like for me, I can I can switch it on and switch it off. Sort of. I know that
Cool.
it's just some people are like they play villainous type characters, and then they messed up for like a week, like afterwards.
Okay.
Sort of it stays with them. I don't have that problem. Sort of it's just not something I do, sort of. So
Absolutely.
but I understand people that do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is the thing that I have discovered that everyone has like their own thing. Some of them will, as you mentioned, will take like a little bit, a little bit longer, or some of them would just be like, I'm good to go. Let's move on, or be like, hey, do you want a lunch? Something like that. So I
Yeah,
find that pretty interesting that like that everyone has like their own thing. That there is no specific way to do it. It's like find your own stuff and do it basically.
yeah. Well, you have no choice at that point, right?
Absolutely, I love it. I love it. And now tell me, what has been like your worst edition ever, or like some of the worst editions you ever had?
I don't think I've had, sometimes when you do audition, acting is all about like auditions and self tapes or things like that, sort of for the roles. Sometimes you hit something and you get it right, sort of the problem with it is that sometimes you get just a couple of pages, and they go, "Hey, read this character," but you don't really know what the whole story is about, and you don't know what the tone of the story is about.
Mm,
You're like, so sometimes it's very helpful to to understand what these things are about. So for instance, I did a movie with Bruce Willis, right? Sort of, and because I'd seen some of the other movies that the director had done, I instantly knew what type of movie it was going to be.
mm,
So it was an action movie. I mean, obviously, and Bruce Willis was playing a cop, and sort of it was I kind of knew what it is, and because you understand that when you do when you actually come to do the movie, it makes it very easy because you understand the tone of what you're doing. You're like, right, I know that this is action. I know that I can be a little funny in it because it's not a comedy, but it doesn't have to be too serious, sort of. And that's really important to know, sort of. So once you understand that, you go. When you don't understand it, that's what makes the terrible auditions, sort of,
totally.
because you're like, oh, I don't really know what's going on.
Mm,
And if obviously in the audition they don't have to explain it to you, they can give you a quick like synopsis of it, but they don't give you much details, so you don't know really. It's more about the tone and the feeling. Going, oh, is this a very serious thing or is it a very And you have to try and get that information from these little nuggets of details that they give you. So you have to work at that and try. You get better as you get older. You get better at trying to pick up clues when people
absolutely.
tell you about it. And obviously, if you look up the people that are auditioning you, or the director or the producers, sometimes you can see, these guys produce one type of film, or they're always making this type of film, so it's probably going to be this.
Mm, okay.
That helps.
And also I've heard that for some really kind of big projects, sometimes they will hide it, like they will throw something different here, so let's see what you got, but so they will not kind of show you what's gonna be like the big project, right?
Yeah, I mean, for some big projects, they don't let you have it at all. Like yeah, I did a couple of big. I did an episode on. I'm sure I'm hoping I'm allowed to say this. I did an episode on The Witcher. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah,
Netflix, The
yeah,
Witcher.
absolutely.
Right, for season 3, which is coming up next year, but I've already done it. I found it, and even then, they hide all the details from it, from the people that are in the show. Sort of. So
Yeah.
you're like, you don't really know what's going on. When I auditioned for it, that my agent was able to tell me what it was for, but it was called something else. It was called like Everybody's Enemy or something like that.
Mm,
Then that's how they keep all the details. And even when I was filming it, that's what they called the show, Everybody's Enemy. And I was like, but it was, I mean, it was The Witcher, season 3 of The Witcher. So it was very
That's pretty
strange
cool.
that they hide it, but yeah, it is, and you don't get to know the whole story. I only got my bit of the script, so, and eventually I got the whole script for the whole episode. But like,
That's cool.
but for a long time, if you knew what it was, it would help you because you would know. I understand it. I've seen this show. I know what sort of tone
Hmm.
it's going to be.
Absolutely, that's pretty cool. And I also find pretty interesting that for example that for commercials specifically, they will ask you to do very random stuff, like totally
Mm.
random stuff, or they will um or they will tell you to overreact stuff, that you're eating something and you need to super over. I mean, I find them pretty funny because it's like, I mean, nobody will react. I mean, I understand, it's for marketing and everything, but I find pretty funny the fact that they will make you like overreact something, and also that when it's like a food product, they will have to. I mean, it doesn't go like on first take, it takes like multiple ones. So,
Oh yeah, and they
you
get
know,
them to do very super super strange things. Like yeah, I don't audition for commercials. I
oh,
shouldn't say
okay,
myself. No, it's not for me because otherwise it's like
yeah, it's
how to
crazy.
look, how to look at interested in eating a sandwich or
Yeah,
like
yeah, there you go.
my girl had a thing there where it was like, or taking a selfie or something like that, and that was the audition. It was like the audition was taking a selfie. And you're like, I wouldn't even know how you would audition,
Yeah, of course.
sort of, but she's very talented, so she she did,
Yeah,
so
absolutely, absolutely. And like, let's say, that one day Netflix, HBO Max, Disney Plus, you name it, they call you and they tell you that they got this idea, in which goes that all of the characters you have played at the moment, they're gonna gather to celebrate your birthday, but that film needs a name. So how would you call it?
But the name of that film, oh jeez, I mean, nobody's getting out of that alive anyway. I'll tell you that.
Okay,
All
okay,
of my characters met in one building. I mean, that's just some sort of massacre waiting to happen. I don't know.
okay,
Jesus, there's something. A massacre at I don't know, the massacre of Simon Phillips. That's what we'll call that movie.
okay. So okay, fair enough. What about describing your whole career on a drink? Like, how would you call it?
On a drink, my God. That's a tough. It's got to be a cocktail, right? Because like any actor, it's a mix. But what
Yeah.
cocktail? You know what? It's probably a Bloody Mary then at that point because that's got lots of horror. And you
Okay.
always have Bloody Mary when you're hungover, which happens to me all the time because I'm
Yeah, yeah.
British. I like a drink.
I love it. I love it. Now, like, what motivates you, man? We all have those days that basically we just want to quit, and sometimes it's interesting because nothing bad is happening, but like suddenly we got this idea in our head or this bug in our head that is kind of telling us that we have wasted our life, like all of those toxic thoughts. So my question here is like how you manage to continue, like, like to continue on this road that you have been built for so many years now.
I mean, you got to. It's like anything in life; you have to love it. Sort of.
Totally.
Yes, there are bad days, there are long days, there are very hard days, but there
Totally.
are hard days on every job, on every sort of everybody has those sort of peaks and troughs, and that's up and down of life. That's just in general. You've got to keep. Uh, People say about positive attitude. I think it's okay to have bad days. Sort of.
Mm,
It's okay. You just don't let a bad day ruin your whole month. You don't let just because you
totally.
have you have a bad month, it doesn't ruin your whole year. Sort of every project that I've done that I've been unhappy with or I've had a bad time making, I've usually learned something from it. Something else like, okay, next time I won't do this or I won't do that, or
Mm,
I'm more careful about this. So even a bad thing usually teaches people something about what they're doing or how they can do better next time. You just have to be receptive to that. Not sometimes that's difficult to be receptive to that, but I think it's fair to say that people are able to be receptive on those things. So you just have to have
totally.
the right mindset.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. And moving on here, let's talk about now the influencer. Tell me about it.
So The Influencer is a movie where a cheerleader gets kidnapped by my character, who is making her jump through some insane sort of social media challenges in order for her to live. And if she doesn't hit the targets of getting enough likes on things that she has to post, she'll something will happen to her.
Yeah.
She'll lose a toe or something exciting, and in the end,
Okay.
she might lose her life and stuff like that. So he's making her jump through all these hoops for a reason. I don't want to give any spoilers away. So yeah, there's a
Absolutely.
reason he's doing what he's doing. But yes, she has to play his very sick game. It's a bit like Saw, sort of.
Okay.
But not less gory than Saw, but certainly, definitely a mind one.
Absolutely. Okay. And when is it gonna be released? Where can we watch it?
So it's out now in the States. It came out on the 6th of December. So it's out now streaming on all the usual platforms, I guess, Amazon Prime, iTunes, things like this sort
Mm.
of. So it's out. If you're in the States, it's out now. I'm not sure if you're in Mexico where it's out. And for me, it's in Canada. I know it's out on Amazon Prime and those places and Google, sort of. But yeah, I don't know where don't know where it is in Mexico. I apologize for that.
No, it's okay. I mean, I mean, I'm super sure that either it should be on iTunes as well or on Amazon. They should. I mean, on Amazon, it should be here as well. So yeah.
Yes, well, there's the main places. I don't know anybody that buys DVDs anymore except me. So I think it's all streaming now. The world, right?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? I mean, it's like back in the day, you will go to Blockbuster, get your films, and now,
I miss that. Sort of.
yeah,
I'm too old to be doing this sort of things. But I honestly, I miss the blockbuster days. Sort of.
yeah,
I love all that stuff, and I think it's something that should, it can't go back to them because it can't go back to them. But I think somebody was telling me that they're setting up a virtual. I don't know if you've heard this, that iTunes or something are going to set up like a virtual store.
huh,
So you can go on your Oculus or something like that, like sort of on your VR set, and you'll be able to walk around the store and pick up a movie, and obviously you throw it and you stream it, sort of. But the physical thing will be to go around the store and like look at horror movies,
yeah,
and you'll
yeah,
be able to pick
yeah,
it up and look at it. And I was like, okay, it's sort of like a digital blockbuster, basically. And I was
yeah.
like, you know what? I think that's super smart. I think that I would love to see that. I think that's
Yeah,
amazing.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I remember back when I was a kid, like Blockbuster was a place that you will meet up with friends, or you will see, like a lot of people will go there, especially like on Fridays,
Oh yeah,
and you will see your
Friday night.
friends, or yeah, yeah, you will see like multiple people there just hanging out and be like, okay, I'm gonna take this film, or just like, well, like what's new on that, or like, I mean, I do remember that, and also that you need to return it. That was a whole,
That
that
was the
was
whole thing.
a whole thing, to be like, shit, I need to hurry, otherwise I'm gonna have to pay, extra stuff. So yeah, I do kind of miss those things because I mean, the fact that they were making you, go outside, I kind of
Yeah,
you know, but especially like I mean, I miss it more, because at least to me it was like more, like more exciting, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love, the HBO, Netflix, and everything, but it still is not the same thing back then when you were like, I'm going to Blockbuster, let's see what's new, and you will be like checking on either a horror, action, drama, whatever, and yeah,
I think it was the way. So, but you have to remember what's exciting about Blockbuster in its day. I know it doesn't belong now. Is that we didn't have iPhones, right? We couldn't look up the trailer for something.
true,
We had to kind of look at
true.
the VHS case or the DVD case, and we had to kind of like work out. Ah, yeah, I've heard of this or I've heard it. Do you know what I mean? And it would be, I mean, the way that I used to get my film news is, yeah, I mean, I'd see the trailers at the cinema, for something like that, but or I'd have Empire magazine or Total Film magazine.
Hmm.
They would see it in the magazines, and I used to read a lot of those when I was young. But really didn't have access to information like right now. If you want to look at film, you'd quickly look at it up on YouTube and see if you
Yeah,
can
you
see,
got it. Hmm.
like you've got or IMDb, and you see in 3 seconds you'd be able to get it. So, but in Blockbuster, you used to have to walk around and try and discover and go, does this look good? Is this like, do you think this one, and you had to guess. And then me and my brother, um, we would often do that. We would go and we would get one movie like we knew was going to be good, like Independence Day or Dread. We get one movie we knew was going to be good,
Mm.
and we would gamble on the second one. Go, okay, we got one that we know we're going to like,
Hmm.
James Bond or whatever, and then we get another one that maybe we didn't know, and that was sometimes those were pretty exciting, So
Yeah, yeah, I can understand that too. Yeah, I ended up. I mean, back then I didn't remember that I would. I mean, I would get something and it would be like I wasted my money on it, or
mm.
be like, what the hell am I watching? No, but it was cool
Yeah, I
too.
mean, but that's part of the
That's the whole excitement. Yeah,
that's more exciting than now because today people make those decisions by just watching a trailer on an iPhone and they go,
totally,
no, I don't want to see that. And you're like, oh man. Back in Blockbuster days, you kind of had to commit harder to that, sort of, or
totally, totally.
you have
And
to listen to your friends. Yeah.
yeah, and like the same was with music. You need to go to a music store, get your CDs.
Don't you
And
remember in the music store you could have headphones
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you'd be
yeah.
able to listen to it. And other than that, you if you didn't hear that, you'd had to hear it on the radio, and that was it. Sort of.
Mm,
And that was it. But now
crazy
it's
times.
everything's very available,
Yeah.
which is good and bad at the same time because people go, Well, you open your computer, you open your TV or whatever, and they go, "What do you want to watch?" And you're like, "You know what? I don't know." And I forgot because what's hard now is how to search. It's like I don't know. So now they have all these exciting algorithms. When Netflix or something, they kind of try and predict. If you liked Stranger Things, then maybe you'll like
This
this.
might, yeah,
This,
yeah.
so they try and work out what it is you like, and sometimes they're probably right. Sort of they are stuff like that. But yeah, it's a very different world now, mate. So you have to keep evolving. You have to keep adapting. There's no other way but to keep moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, at the end, what can I say about your career, man? I mean, I love it, and also the fact that you keep pushing, but also because you like it. As simple as it may sound, we all know that sometimes it takes decades for you to discover what you want to do in life. But the thing is, like, once you find it, now work on it, and the fact that you have done it,
That's it.
you have your results, you have been in multiple projects here and there. That's incredible, and I think that's super badass to show. I mean, that also shows everyone, besides giving us cool entertainment, that
Yeah.
also you can do it as well. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's like anything in life, mate. If you love it, the more you get more out of it, the more you put into it. But yes, with filming and with being an actor, with most things, the more you put in, the longer you put it in, the more experienced you get at it, the
totally.
easier the job becomes, and the more you get to appreciate it. But yeah, I think we both know, Dan, that life is short, so you kind of
Preach.
gotta go and do what makes you happy, even if you don't get to your goal of being a Tom Cruise superstar.
Yeah.
You kind of the pursuit of happiness is also kind of important. Sort of say you should kind of keep with that. Do what makes you happy.
There
Don't
you go.
don't waste your time doing anything else.
There you go. And I also want to thank those who watch this video. Thank you so much. If you are listening in either on Spotify or Apple Podcast, make sure to go follow Simon like right now. I mean, the video's over. So I'm gonna leave in the description below his link to his Instagram so you can follow him. Let's make him viral. Hashtag Team Simon because he's awesome. He's badass. And again, man, thank you so much for making this happen. Have an incredible upcoming Christmas. Keep killing it. Keep scaring. And I'll see you in the next one.
We'll see you on the next one, Dan. Thank you so much for talking.
All right.